there. And welcome, everybody. This is This Week in Prophecy. I'm Pastor Sherman Ray, and I want to welcome all to the broadcast today. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'm still getting over the weekend because there was a football game on, and I don't know. Maybe none of my teams were even playing. That's the funny thing about it. None of my teams were even playing, but I'm still mourning. I think I'm mourning for my lovely wife and some friends that we had over at the house. So maybe that's probably why I am. So for those of you, this might be your first time checking out the show. This is This Week in Prophecy, where we talk about some of the things that are going on. Gosh, maybe in the supernatural that we can look to, that are happening in trending things today, or maybe even put together some of the things that might have already happened. And we want to encourage you folks, if you're watching us, I'm going to open up our YouTube channel and make sure that if you'd like to watch us on YouTube, you can go just watch us on YouTube. That's on our Godstream TV channel. You can watch This Week in Prophecy, and we'd love for you guys to be able to get on that. Before we get too far going, though, but we need to bring my co-host on the show, and it's Aaron Newton. Aaron, how are you doing today, brother?
Hey, man, what's happening?
Yeah, another beautiful day. Just another beautiful day. Aaron, you came over the house. You and the lovely Miss CC came over the house this weekend. And did you have a good time? First of all, did you have a good time?
I did.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I liked hanging out with you and Pastor Tommy and Chuck.
Yeah.
And then the food was fantastic.
Food was good, man. We had so much food. We're still eating to this day. I mean, we're still eating. I think we're still eating leftovers. You know. So Aaron,
go plate.
Should have made it to go plate. A couple of them, because we're not going to eat that stuff. I'll tell you. And at the end of it, did you notice at the end of it? That's when the brats came out.
Yeah, they were good too.
You had some?
Yeah, I cut a couple pieces. Yeah, they were good. It was really good.
Wow. So, what was the most memorable part of the night? The game, or just the fellowship, or what was the most memorable part to you?
Miss Linda being angry that her team lost.
She was upset, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was not happy.
She was not happy. My wife loves the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got what they call a spanking.
Yeah, it was pretty tough, right?
Yeah. Now, I wonder if there were anybody that was prophesying that the game would be so lopsided.
Oh, man. You know what? I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't hear anything, but, a lot of people were saying, something's going to happen if Trump goes there. Whatever. He's the first president to ever go to a football game like that, so I thought that was pretty awesome of him, just saying, look, I'm just one of the people,
Sure.
I have this job, but I'm just like you.
Yeah, he wanted to see a good game, right?
Sure.
So one of the surprising things, we mentioned the game, was, and for those of you who didn't watch the game, Kansas City Chiefs got beat really bad. Philadelphia was just overwhelming. They just overwhelmed. A couple of things happened. They ended the game. They talked to the coach. He gave all glory and honor to Jesus. Talked to the winning quarterback. Same thing. They both gave God the glory, which is very unusual. I think refreshing. Was that a good way to put it?
100%. I saw a video on I don't know what it was, but anyways, and they actually talked to a lot of the players of the team, and all of them said that they were all like, I first want to, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I thought to myself, wow, I can see why they won now,
Yeah, sure,
but, it was a lot of the players, not just them, there's more, and I thought, wow, that's really awesome, because, Philadelphia, they're kind of in a bad way right now with, the way things are, and the the ruling party, and to see them do that, it's just wow, it's refreshing.
It really was very refreshing. And I think another observation of that game was the welcome, and we did. Now I think did you catch this? I didn't even see it when they actually showed the president at the game, and then they showed a split screen, I guess, of him and Tay-Tay. What's her name? Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And they were cheering him, booing her. I didn't see that. Did you see that?
I didn't. I was walking around being a social butterfly. I missed that part, but I saw it later.
Yes.
Or I heard about it later, and I was like, wow. I guess he said something about it too. That
well, you know he's going to say something about it, right?
Yeah, you know he is. But yeah, it was wow. That I didn't see it. I totally missed that.
Wow, I missed that whole thing. But that tells you kind of, maybe that's tells you something about the attitude of the country. The attitude of the country was leaning really hard left. It seemed that way. We had all these policies, all these things that were going on in the country. They were leaning really heavy left. And then the vote came in November, and all of a sudden the ship went like this and went, and it's starting to list heavy right, which is just awesome. You know, it's just awesome. So now we've probably talked about this before, and I think maybe we did talk about this before, about that pendulum swing in America. Do you remember us talking about this before? That the country was going really hard left, and now it's coming. That it was going to the point where it's going to break, and then it started coming back to the right, and now it's coming back. You know, it seems like spiritually there's a significance to that someplace. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think people just got tired of seeing the darkness, and you know, once people show, you know, the light is prevalent, people are attracted to it, whether they realize it or not. And so it just shows. It just shows. It's getting brighter, you could say.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm looking really forward to seeing what's going to happen in the next couple of years. It's been crazy enough over the last 4 years, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Lord is going to do. Once again, folks, we just turned on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to get involved in the conversation on our YouTube channel, we'd love to have you there. And if not, you can go ahead and write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and give us some feedback, or just tell us, you know what, we really kind of loving the show. We were actually hearing, and we actually hear from people all throughout the week. I don't know about you, Aaron, but I hear to people throughout the week who said, hey, I watched the show, we love what you guys are doing. And so I'm very excited that people are watching it. But we'd love to see it right now. Just go ahead and go to the line and let us know that you like it. So we were talking about something, a vision you had that we actually came up in episode 2.
Yes.
And this is something that really is very germane to what's going on in the country right now, and on to some of the current events that are going on right now. Most notably, I'm gonna guess this was the USAID stuff that's going on right now in the country. Am I pretty close on this?
Well, I think you know what? I think it's, well,
I'll let you frame it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's say this, right? I think that people, there was one person in particular that stood out to me in this dream, and I haven't really heard much about her. So I think it's like, you know, we're at the peak. I think that's part of it. You know what I mean? But it's just the top, the layer, you know, the crust. We're just breaking down into the meat of the pie, right? Yeah. So, so I think that, you know, I think this, is it the first one? Well, these two, but I think it's actually, the first one is like the beginning. Yeah. I guess you could say like the the USAID. I think that the first dream kind of is showing like, hey, cause it was like one at a time. They were bringing one at a time out. The second one is like, you know, here's the peak, here's the pinnacle. Right now we're peaking, and this is what we're going to see. So let's get into it if you like.
So let's so you want to talk about what's going on at USAID? We'll let everybody know. Let's let them know what's going on and then we'll put them together. So USAID has been in the news, especially the last couple of weeks. Now, many of you know Elon Musk has been tasked with as being part of the government efficiency office, and his guys have gone in and they're basically turning over the rugs, they're turning over the chairs, and one of the agencies that they're first going looking at is USAID, and they're basically they fund foreign relief organizations, vaccinations, that kind of stuff. Well, they found out that there's a lot of money that is not getting to where it's supposed to go. Literally to the tunes of 90% of the money going out of USAID is not getting to where it's supposed to go. Well, they have basically been closing down offices. They've got, I think, 10,000 people in the office. Elon Musk says, no, we can do it with 300 to 600 people. I mean, some numbers like that. And they're just starting to turn over they're turning over the every time they turn over a leaf or turn over a chair, they're finding out that this is getting uglier and uglier. And so so that's basically what's been going on all weekend long. It's getting uglier too, folks. It's not just USAID, but it's FEMA. It's going to be these are just 8 organizations that the Doge guys, or they call them the Doge Bros, are starting to look at, right? And it's just starting to go. And so and as Aaron and I were talking about the show, he says this vision I had coincides or is, I think, is pointing to this. So Aaron, jump in now. This was I believe it's the October 20th of 2023. Is that the one we're going to look at? Okay, go for it.
Okay, so October 2023, this, like I said, we talked about this on episode 2 of last season. So let's see. All right, so I know, right? I was standing on the shore and I was looking at Lake Mead. And there was a really big party. And so just imagine like a whole bunch of boats tied together. There was loud music and lights, and you can just hear a party going on off in the distance. And these were all rich families, people with lots of money, wealthy, influential. And as I'm watching the police start bringing in people one at a time. And so I knew these were sons of rich families. I asked one of the policemen, why are you arresting them? Are they being stupid, and drunk? And he said, no, they're being arrested for treason. And, just imagine like somebody who looks like they just came off from wakeboarding or something, kind of swim shorts, maybe tank top or no t-shirt on, and they were bringing them in, putting them up against a wall, frisking them, and then taking them away in a cop car. And it was doing this one at a time. And then I remember thinking, I hope they don't do it backwards, like the way things have been lately. I hope the state has to prove they're guilty, not the person has to prove his innocence. The emphasis on the state actually proving guilt, not the emphasis on that man proving his innocence. And so that was the end of the dream. And it really hit me that we see this one at a time. Like you talked about USAID, and I saw today that Trump and Elon Musk had a conference in the Oval Office. Okay. And they were asking him questions. What, do you think that, what you're doing is right and stuff like that? And he said, the biggest thing is like, we need to balance our deficit. And by looking what they're doing is looking in these companies and saying, where is money being wasted? Where is it being, are we really getting enough of the taxpayers' money? That's what his job was to go in there and do. Now they're finding that these people who have worked there started off $150,000 a year, and now they're multimillionaires in 4 years, right? So it's like, okay, something's going on. Then they're funding all these programs that, I'm sure most people have heard the list about, like, gay operas in Ireland, and just crazy pushing this transgender ideology around ideology around the world, and but they're not seeing where the money's going. They're just, it's like, he talked about the treasury, and I think that's the next big one, is like, we pay people who are on the no pay list, right? So there's a list that the government keeps, like, this person, we don't pay them anymore, or they had a contract with somebody for 3 months, but they've been paying that person for 20 years. Just nobody turned the money off. Yeah. So, but what he's saying is that we're finding all these irregularities where, it's either incompetence or it's purposeful.
Yeah,
And,
sure.
With this, it's like one at a time coming out. They're going in, digging in here. Oh my goodness, we have to shut all this down because there's just billions and billions of dollars being wasted on I heard Trump say it the best. He's like, Joe Biden did all this. He did all these things that we're paying and all these ideas. He approved those things. And I was just like, yeah, here comes the uncovering. And we'll get a little bit more into that on the last one. So I'll let you.
So I'm intrigued. I really am. So I guess the scary part about this is it was something we were talking about before. We're saying they're probably just scraping the surface of this thing.
Yeah.
Some investigative. So here's two things. Some investigative journalist is going to start digging in this now, right? And he's going to go, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what we found out." But then there's going to be somebody who's going to go, "I wrote about this 20 years ago. Yeah. We've been telling you about this 20 years ago." Something that Ted Cruz, who is now the Secretary of State, said something about this. He said, "We've been trying to shut this thing off for years." Mm-hmm. And the people over at USAID, not just exclusive to them, but there's other agencies who think that they are above the law. They think that they're outside of the government, and so they can do whatever they want to do. That when Senate told them, "Hey, turn this off," they said, "Screw you. We're not turning off anything. We're going to do whatever we want to do." And now the loudest people who are trying to point the finger now at Elon Musk, point the finger at Donald Trump, I'm guaranteeing you they're just trying to save their butts.
Yeah. Well, I agree 100%. I saw the tape, the video of the Democrats going over to the Department of Education, and what was their reason for being there? No, you can't do this. You can't investigate. You can't go into them. It wasn't like, you guys are doing bad. You're hurting people. We need to take a look at this. No, we're going to go and yell and scream. So this is what's been happening, for the past 8 years, right? We saw with the riots. And then every time you say something, yell and scream, we're gonna cancel you, right? So and I think this is something that really needs to be thought about, is not only where was the money going, but also who was shutting these people down. So Ted Cruz, right? We've been working on this for years. Let's say, okay, well, who was shutting him down? I bet when you figure out who did that there's something in there too. And then you also see the reporters, and it's the usual suspects, right? You got MSNBC, CNN, CBS, NPR, and they're all trying to gang up on Elon Musk now. Oh, Musk is running. I don't think Trump's going to let anybody run over him. What we've seen in the last years, I guarantee that Elon Musk is like, "Sir, do you think we should do this?" Yeah. No. Okay, I won't. Yeah. I guarantee it. He's not going to just let somebody run over him. But they're trying to create this narrative that he's bad and what we're doing is bad. And so even Trump talked about today that the judges were blocking him. Yep. And it's like, you got to think about this. Like, what a judge gets in and says, "No, I don't think you should go in and look at where money's being wasted." He's like, "I'm going to look at the judges too. We'll see what's going on here."
You better believe it. Why would they do this? It's going to get deeper and deeper. I got to tell you, not only are we going to probably ultimately find out that this thing goes decades and decades and decades generationally, right? So my whole idea was this, and you stop me if you, when you think I'm just full of gefilte fish, okay? Is that
It's so horrible. Oh, it had that be fixed.
really?
It's horrible.
You stop me when you think I'm full of it, okay?
Oh yeah.
Hillary Clinton, when she was going to get into office, one of the things that I believe was going on with her was that all these people who were fighting for Hillary Clinton, okay, saying Hillary needs to be there, Hillary Clinton needs to be there, they were all thinking this. They know how to make money. The Clintons know how to make money. Bill and Hillary, they've been doing it when they were in Arkansas. Now they're going to get in the White House. It's payday time, you guys. We've been waiting for this. And when Donald Trump was going to be in office, they said, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen here? We got to stop this guy because our gravy train is here." You know, they've been waiting for this money to come in, and now Donald Trump has it's come to pass their biggest fear. Their biggest fear was that Donald Trump was going to what is that? Let me turn that thing. Oh my gosh, everybody look, what is this? Can you believe all the money they're stealing? These guys, I'm really surprised that there are not planes lined up at LAX over at LaGuardia getting out of country because they know their time is short.
It's coming. I guarantee it. Somebody is gonna try to run.
Oh, they got to run. They got to run.
I just I don't know, man. I know it. Like I don't know who, but somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, we gotta go. Oh, we're moving to England, right?" With all these
gotta move.
Moving to
and they'll feign some kind of outrage, and they'll go, "Oh, we just can't live in a country like this. We're leaving. You'll never see me again." And they're running out the door, right? They're running out, going, "Oh my gosh, hope I go to a country where there's no extradition," right? Because we've stolen so much money from the American people. So here's what happens with USAID. And what I've heard, I don't know this to be the fact, folks, so please don't hold me to this, folks. But this is what I've heard about USAID, is that you as an American citizen can go to a foreign country, start a business in this foreign country, right back to America and say, "I want money for this particular thing." And they will say, "Oh, okay, we'll consider it. Yeah, is it transgender? Is it real left? Is it woke?" You got the money. And they send them the money, $100 million, let's say. Let's just make it a round number, $100 million. And they'll go, "Hey, but remember who you got to pay the house a little bit of this money. Okay, so we're going to send you $10 million out of the $100 million, and $90 million of it is going for administrative fees." Okay, so, and that's basically what USAID has been doing to fund the overthrow of governments, to change the I think this is one of the biggest things right here too, Aaron, is to change the culture in other countries. Because what you go into a Muslim country, you go into a country that's very, set in their ways, and you basically fund this particular ideology. What are you necessarily trying to do? You're trying to change that country. And that's part of what USAID was doing also. So they were used as a way to change the culture, not to the good, but to their ideology. And number two, to get money to fund things back here at home also. So a lot of heads are going to roll as a result of this, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just the beginning. Like I think that, geez, man, they paused FEMA, and then last week I was listening, and the lady who does the press briefings, she said in 3 days we took care of 80% of the cases of these people in North Carolina that had nothing, and she said 3 days we took care of 80%. And then you had Joe Biden for how long, was he president? During that time, nothing happened to these people. and he said, well, FEMA doesn't have money because, something, this and that. But then, they were talking about the money to, I think it was it USAID or FEMA? I don't
Mm-mm,
remember, but
mm-mm,
he said that they sent $94 million to New York
mm-mm.
for housing immigrants.
Yeah,
And it's like,
let me quote that for you. It's actually $59 million
59 million. There you go.
went to New York City for luxury housing from FEMA, right?
FEMA.
Money that
That's
went
right. It
from
was.
FEMA to New York to house illegal aliens in luxury hotels. The problem with this is FEMA is not tasked with sending money to anybody other than relief agencies in America who have had hurricanes, floods or something like that. So FEMA took money, they misappropriated funds to send to them. So speaking to these folks in North Carolina, these folks have got to be apoplectic to think that this money was not going to them.
Yeah, and it's been happening for 4 years, and you still had people voting for that. Oh yeah, uh, geez, I can't remember her name. She's already gone into the wind. Kamala Harris. Oh,
Kamala.
Kamala Harris. She got to be president. And I'm like, wow, like they don't care about you at
Yeah.
all. And I keep hearing news stories about, well, the Democrats got to change their messaging. No, you don't care about us, so why does it matter what your message is? It's just
Yeah.
horrible. But this is what we know is going to happen. We know
Yeah.
that he said, I'm going to do this, and then they were surprised when he comes in and does it. But I think they thought it was going to be like last term, where they had their people in the White House leaking
Mm-hmm.
information. Like,
Yeah.
I read a story about they were going to do this big raid in Colorado, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody leaked the information to the gang members in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, and they
Mm-hmm.
only arrested I don't remember how many they said. They said he arrested 100 people, but there was like 90% of the gang members got away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
and I saw an article today actually that said that was it Tom Holman and
Mm-hmm.
Christy Nome
Yep. Sure.
are they're going to convict. They know who it is. I think they said they're
Yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
to make something happen. So I'm like, good,
Yeah.
because you get tired of hearing these things that people do and nothing ever happens, or they get like
Yeah.
a $500 fine.
I'm wondering. So, give me your take on this, Aaron. The American people in November spoke loudly, and they said, "Hey, we are tired of the way it's going. Not just the high inflation. We're not just the woke ideology. We don't like the way the country's going." And so they said, "We get rid of you guys. We want the new guy. We want the old guy because maybe we don't like his tweets, but he set us in the right course. We want Dad back." Okay. So now Dad's back. Dad's doing exactly like you said. Dad is doing exactly what he said he's going to do. But the Democrats don't. Those, I shouldn't just say the Democrats. Those on the left, those who did not hear the cry of the American people, they're still fighting tooth and nail. My question to you, Aaron, do you think that they are ever going to change? Do you think those folks on the left, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, the AOCs, the Chuck Schumers, those people, do you think they're ever going to change? Because you said something very interesting. You said they don't care. They just don't care what the American people think.
I don't know. I don't really know if their mindset is going to change on this. I will say this, that we have seen so much change in the last, couple weeks, that you can't deny that God had his hand in it. And, what we see happening, and those people fighting, digging in their heels, stiffening their neck, I think that you're gonna, once the convictions and the prosecutions start, then they might, I don't know, they might start changing their tune. But I your eyes are open, right? most people's eyes are open to what was happening. They don't care. Like they don't.
Mm.
Their eyes aren't opening to what's happening in the like say the spiritual sense of things, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
I talked about that dream where God was slicing people with a sword, and He said, now that you see them falling in the spirit, you're going to start seeing them fall in the natural. And I think that He's going to take care of it. Like
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's going to be man's justice, but I think
Mm-hmm.
also in the sense there's going to be God's justice on the wicked,
Yeah.
and this is what we're seeing right now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta give glory where it's due, and I really think this is a big part of it.
I do too. I do too. Well, we'll see what happens in the next year or so. I think we've got some crazy things that are going to happen that I believe a lot of people in the who are moving in the prophetic have been talking about this a lot. There's going to be a mass shift in America. I mean, not just a little shift. There's going to be a seismic shift, and when that occurs, you're going to see. So here's the thing about it. What do you think is going to happen, though? I guess, Aaron, when you see this massive shift towards righteousness in America, what do you think is going to be the reaction to those who've been saying, "Oh no, we've been practicing evil for so long"? What do you think is going to be the reaction from those folks?
I mean, I think some will change because anybody
Mm.
can repent and anybody can be saved, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think about it like this, right? You had evil regimes since the beginning of written history. Now,
Mm-hmm.
did they just once they saw, let's say the Babylonians, when they saw what the ark did to their people, did they just change and become
Mm-hmm.
now Zionists? No, they
Mm-hmm.
just got quiet. Let's just be quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just gonna do our religious and worship our idols quietly, but then slowly try to come back and slowly grip. You know, people love their
Yeah.
traditions, whether they're good traditions, bad traditions, whatever it is. If your eyes aren't open to see what's happening in the world, people will grab on to their traditions. And this is the way my dad did it, and this is the way my grandfather did it. So I'm just going to do it. And right now I'm being persecuted, so I'll just keep it quiet. And, it's never, there were so many things that God has done throughout the years to these different nations. And, you know, it's like they never changed.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
never changed. So why do I think they'll change now? I think some people will realize that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what we've been doing was so bad, but I think it's going to come at a harsh spanking, right? Maybe
Okay.
lose everything they have and go to jail for a while, or you know, who knows? We can talk
Mm.
about that on the next dream, but
Yeah.
I I mean, I think a lot of people who were just going through their day and like I'm I'm just a normal person, Democrat, independent, Republican, whatever, are I think those people are waking up, but the people who have, my power, this is my power, I control, billions of dollars. When I was in the Navy, I had a government credit card and I
Mm-hmm.
could do $2,500 per purchase. But I could go into a store, buy $2,400 worth of stuff, walk out, put it in my truck, go back in and spend 2,500, walk out, and I could do that all day long. But then, all I had to do was like, hey, I need to make a big purchase. Okay, no problem. And I there was times when I would purchase stuff. It was like, $1.5 million with my credit card. And then make sure you keep that receipt, you know what I mean? Because you're gonna have to turn it in. But like people don't want to give up that. If they love
Yeah.
money, they are
Mm-hmm.
going to love money whether
Yeah.
they have it or not.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Evil is a funny mistress. She's an evil person, and I, we saw it during and we've seen it over the years. We've seen the different iterations of evil. In the Civil War era, we saw what was going on, where you would think that the South would say, "Hey, we can't beat the North," right? Oh no, they thought they could beat the North, and they and so you said something very interesting, and I caught it, and I don't know if anybody else caught that. the South never left. They just went underground. Mm-hmm. And they came up a year later. They killed the president, right? And they've never left. Since then, they've never mm-hmm. left. And now we see they might have changed. They might have changed the way they do their things, but they're still the same Democrats they ever were. They're the same yes. party. That they're just different. They put on suits now, right? Instead of putting on hoods and stuff like that, they've got suits now, and they've got lawyers and they have judges all over the place, and that's how they get things done. So, will people get saved in the next few years? I think you're right. I do believe some people will probably get it. If John Fetterman could partially get it, okay, and he got a little bit, then I think anybody could get it. But the leadership, guess what? They are sold out. They are diehard. Mm. I don't think any of those folks will ever change. It doesn't mean we won't pray for them. Okay, we're still going to pray for them, but I would not trust them right now if they said, "Oh, give us mercy. We're good. We're on your side now." I would say, "Yeah, right. You're on our side now. Prove it." And mm-hmm. I would not trust them as far as I could throw them. I think we would be foolish to. And once again, you tell me if I'm full of gefilte fish. Okay. Should we trust them? I got to say no.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny that you say it because I love history and I love researching stuff. And I remember mm-hmm. looking into the Civil War, and mm-hmm. 80% of the people who wanted to secede from the Union were Democrats. Like, you can go through the list of senators and, all these people. They were all Democrats. And then, did they say, "Oh, okay, we lost. We need to now be one nation"? No, they said for I don't know how many years. Like, let's just say from the end of the Civil War till I got quiet a couple years ago, but people were getting canceled for that. But you had the Confederate flag on state flags. You had the South will rise again. That was just a thing, right? But whatever. I think that and then after that, when people were able to vote, when they gave voting rights to the blacks, you have to be a Democrat. We'll let you vote, but you got to vote Democrat. And so you see this thing right now where mm-hmm. all these, the majority of black people vote Democrats. Why? Because it's their tradition. Mm-hmm. Not because Kamala Harris is fantastic at what she does or Joe Biden is fantastic. This is what my mom did. This is what I learned from my mom, and she learned mm-hmm. from her mom. And where did they get that? As soon as they could start to vote, no problem. We're going to allow you to vote, but you're going to vote Democrat.
You better believe it. Yeah.
Just amazing, and it seeps into people. They, like I said, they love their traditions. They love. I mean, we can read about that in the Bible about traditions and how things went and the law and stuff. But I mean, you have to eventually say, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Does it really matter? Do you really think that this is important? Does God think this is important? What am I doing? Hold on. Let me reevaluate things. Because that has to happen. But if you just say, no, this is the way it is, then, that's it. That's all that's going to happen. It's just the way it is, man.
Well, I'm just... Well, for those of you who are just joining in on the conversation, folks, and we're starting to get a debate here online also, folks. We really encourage you. I'm Pastor Sherman, Aaron, and we're talking about what is God doing in America? What's God doing in the prophetic? We encourage you, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, go ahead and write to us. You can jump online. We're on Godstream TV on our YouTube channel, which would be great. Love to hear from you. If you'd like to, if you don't want to jump in, that's fine also. You can write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So, Aaron, you've got a couple of dreams that you were, and I think you were saying the first dream, and we were already talking about the first one about certain people, and we were talking about this as FEMA, talking about USAID, these people that are probably going to, they things are not going to end the way they think they're going to end. But did you say that? You think we ought to bring in the second article or the second vision that you were talking about also? And that was just the day later.
Yeah, it was a day later. Yeah, let's get into that one.
Yeah.
Hold on here. Sorry, my ear was
No problem.
So let's go in the second one here. And so this was the 21st of October, 2023, and this one we also talked about on episode 2. Okay, so I was with a group of people. We were standing watching people that worked for the government, from the lowest position to the top, who were corrupted and planted there by other countries. Well, they were also, and it was like a court case, and they were being convicted of treason. And all the patriotic Americans, the good Americans, we were all standing holding hands in a circle, and we had all these people like kind of inside the circle. So we were holding hands and we were circling them. They had a choice. They could die for treason or be sent back to the countries they came from or worked for, like Somalia or Palestine. I saw Rashida Tlaib. So that I'm sorry. The judge said, now that you've been convicted of treason, I could send you back to the country that you work for, Palestine or Somalia, what he said, or you can be sentenced to death. You know, treason. The punishment for treason is death. The sentence for treason is death. And so I saw Rashida Tlaib. And she was crying, like her face was just covered in tears. And he said, okay, you know, once he said that, you could be sent back to Palestine or Somalia, or you could be sentenced to death. And she stood up, still, you know, digging in her heels. You can't do this to me. I'm an American. And he said, okay, death it is then. And they took her away to be executed. So you know, just real quick, I think that really answers your question that do these people change? No, because she's like, all, you know, obviously they went through this trial and she was convicted and sentenced. You know, she had either you could go back to Palestine and live, or you can be executed here in America. And she still said, you can't do this to me. I mean, it was, you know, kind of like how we saw Maxine Waters the other day in front of the Department of Education, where she was telling that guy, you can't, I'm a senator, you can't, what's your name? I need you to say your name for the camera so we can dox you. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, digging in their heels. And that's what I got from this dream, that she was like, no, you're not going to do this to me. I'm Rashida Tlaib. I'm a Democrat, whatever it is, you know? And they said, all right, death it is. And they took her away to be executed. Boy, and so I think that really answers your question there. Like,
well, I think there's that's a dual-edged sword. So she is choosing death. She is choosing, I'm not going to change, because ultimately that's what her ideology is going to lead to, is death. And it may not even be that physically that Americans are going to put her to death, okay, or that it's some court or some judge is going to put her to death, okay, but that ideology is death. She's choosing death. And that's which ultimately leads to death, I guess. Spiritually, I would say.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think you're right. I think that's like, I think is, you know, I have to, you know, it's hard to interpret sometimes. Is it really her? Am I going to see her convicted of treason? I don't know. Like, I don't really know that, but I think the point that he's trying to get as they're not going to just, even after they've been found out, convicted, sentenced to either, yes, you can go back to Palestine and live, or you can die right here today. They're still going to say, no, you can't do this to me. They're still going to dig in their heels and stiffen their necks. And I think that was really the point that I was trying to come across, was that they're not just going to, I mean, you see it, right? What they didn't want Trump to be president. They wanted to ruin his presidency at the end. And what happened? We had this whole cities burning down, and it's like yelling and screaming, and it's like, I'm gonna yell, scream. People get uncomfortable when people yell and scream. Hey, okay, you know, you need to calm down. And you just you feel uncomfortable, right? You're like, yeah, just uncomfortable. And so they've been getting what they want for so long that if I don't get what I want, I'm going to throw a tantrum and people will back off.
Yeah,
And so,
sure.
that those days are over. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you yell and scream about. What's going to happen is there's going to be righteousness and
Uh-huh.
justice,
Hmm.
and those days are over.
Yeah. And
So
so I love once again that maybe once again this may not even be specifically Rashida Tlaib. It's the
right,
ideology. It's the
it is.
ideology. It's the thought. It's that group. It's that spirit, and all those people who we're thinking, boy, you know what? The smart way, the common sense thing, because now the big word is common sense. The
Yeah,
common sense thing, choose life. They're going no.
yeah,
I'll, I will choose death, and that's exactly
yeah.
what they're choosing. Even if they didn't say it, because she never said I choose death. No,
No,
she just said no. I'm not choosing life, and that's what these people are doing,
yeah,
and we're seeing that all over the place. And I think that's why we were talking about this before. That a lot of these folks, you would think once again, you've got Chuck Schumer now, and there was an article about Chuck Schumer now saying instead of working with Donald Trump, instead of working with the vast majority of the American people who are saying we want to go in this direction, they're saying, oh no, let's start a snitch line. Let's start let's start up a snitch line so you can tell on those folks, or let's get our judges to try to stand up against the will of the people instead of. And I'm going. So you guys are not choosing life. Once again, you're choosing death.
hmm
Even though they're well, we didn't choose death. I go, yeah, you did, because you're not choosing the path that's going to lead you to life, right? So the scripture says that narrow is the path that leads to life, right? Broad is the way that leads to death. They're
hmm
picking the other way because they're not choosing the narrow way, and that's a scary place to be at, don't you think?
Well, let's talk about Chuck Schumer for instance, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about this for a while now. I something's going to happen to that guy. There's going to be a big something with him. Now, he was a leader in the Democrat Party, right? He ruled the
Mm-hmm.
Senate, or he was the
Yeah.
leader of the majority of the Senate. I don't think that man is just ideologically saying this is wrong what we're doing. We need to make sure we support these people or whatever. I think that he has his hands in the cookie jar and he's had it for a long time. And so now he's scared because you have like the fight or flight thing, right? And right now they're in the fight mode. We're gonna fight it. We're getting judges to stop this, and we put our Democrat ideological judges in positions because we knew that he was gonna do things. We didn't know how much he was gonna do, but they knew that whenever the Trump wants to do something, they got somebody in way to stand. And he's using the court just like they've used it to try to take all his money, put him in jail for this and that. They're trying to use the court to circumnavigate law, or the circumnavigate the rule of law in governing the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I really believe that man especially, he has he's had his hand in the cookie jar and he's afraid.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Tell you the truth, um, I don't think Chuck Schumer has got his hands in it as much as everybody else has. I think he's going to probably come up really clean on this. I think he's smarter than that. Um, I think he might be the puppet. He might be the puppeteer behind it, the unspoken puppeteer behind everything else, because he's too loud. He's too loud. Now, Nancy Pelosi, notice who you don't see out there at all. Nancy
Oh,
is
she's
no,
afraid.
she's gone. Nancy's
She's
probably going, oh, can I get my tickets to Havana? can I
Yeah.
can I can I get my tickets to some place that doesn't have extradition,
She's gonna
because
be living in Moscow pretty soon.
some place where she can eat ice cream. I don't know where she's going, but she's gone, man. She's
Yeah.
taking her freezer with her, her Sub-Zero freezer with her, and but the loudest ones are the ones are probably now. I wouldn't doubt if Maxine Waters is going to get in trouble. I just don't think
Yeah.
I don't think she's smart enough to think, hey, why don't I just shut up and get out of the way of this, because there's a wrecking ball that's coming through, and it's going to take out a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people who thought that they were going to yell their way into and dox their way into keeping power. Maxine Waters, I think, is one of them. I really do, because she's just too foul. Chuck Schumer, I think he's almost like that vampire who's got like Igor waiting for him with the crypt and the coffin, and he's going, let me know when the light comes so I can jump in this thing and you can bury me someplace, right? And he's gonna escape all this stuff. Maxine, I don't think so. I think she's gonna get it.
Well, you know what? Look at the way they've run the country. It's like the mafia, right? You have these everybody's stealing money at the bottom, right? You have these people at USAID, and they're taking money, but then, are you serious? You don't think he's taking his cut? I know he's making his rounds, or he's having his guy. Where's my 10%? He was the leader of that party. I don't think he's just stupid and doesn't know what's going on, but he's just an ideological, leftist. No. That man was getting his cut. So was Nancy Pelosi. So was Maxine Waters. I mean, there's no way that he didn't. He's gonna get away. I've had a couple of dreams about that guy, and I don't think so.
Okay.
That guy's going down. I'll just say that. But
sure.
You
okay.
gotta know that
I thought you were going to reveal something here.
Oh no. I have to go through and read him again. But the guy at the top always gets his cut. But he's also the one that puts down the law. Hey, I need you to go over here and do this. And it's not the little people stealing, because once those people find out that we're stealing from them, they cut it off, right? If you're gonna steal from this, I need my cut. That man's been getting his cut for a long. He's been getting his 3 points above the vig for a long time.
3 points above the vig. Yes, that's it. So that's Vegas talk right there. That's, folks, for those of you who don't know.
That's mafia talk. I need my 3 points. Yeah.
Gotta have it. Anyways. That's it. Yes. So we are living in history right now.
Yeah, and he's just scared, and he's fighting, and I think Pelosi is flighting.
I think, because you've not heard anything from Nancy, and normally she would have already said something, and I would assume that's because she's checking out. She's probably she's getting her visa together, and she will say something in parting, right? She'll go, I've decided for the good of the country to leave. And her heels aren't even going to touch the ground. She's just flying out here. She's on the next thing smoking. She's smoking out of town. Yeah.
I think she was greedy, and she knows that she was greedy. And I do think that Chuck was like a little more subdued, like, okay, I'm only going to take this, but Pelosi was like scooping in the chips, right? She's on the roulette table, like scooping in the chips, but he was like, maybe not so much, I don't know, but I guarantee they all knew, and they all had their hand in it, because you can't say the leader didn't know what was going on with the minions. It's just not going to happen.
Now, we're just speculating, folks. Everybody, we're just speculating. But the thing I think this is pretty smart and pretty close to the sweetness here that we're speculating here. A lot of people have had their hands in this thing, in this till, this USAID thing, and there was a time when we could actually say to ourselves, and especially because usually history is something you read about. Right? You read about it in a book and you go, that could never happen. There's no way that could happen, right? But over the last 8 years, 10 years now, we've been watching, actually even longer than that, we've been watching history unfolding right in front of us. And if we told somebody right now who came from some foreign land that such and such happened, they would think you're out of your mind that this couldn't happen. But it is. And it's definitely happening right now. So when we have this vision is talking about people dying to save their evil intent, because they believe they believe with all their heart that they are right, and that if they say it enough, that you will believe it. And I think that maybe that's where the key to this is, that this person, or this archetype, this person in this second vision, is an archetype of that ideology that is so convinced that it is right, that if it says it to you enough, that you will believe it. And because it's obvious that, and that you're going to go, yeah, what was I wrong? What, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they didn't steal all that money. Maybe I should feel bad for even blaming them, and that we go away. Because that's what this is. That's what's happening right now?
Yeah, it's like we said a couple minutes ago. The Babylonians didn't give up on Dagon when God put their people with boils and broke their statues, just a box in their temple. They didn't give up on Dagon. They just said, okay, you take that out of here. We need to go back to what we're doing. And that's exactly what, same thing. They don't give up on what they think is their tradition. They just push out what they think is not conducive to their lifestyle.
Find judges that will, who normally judges, remember we talked about in the Old Testament, judges were actually there for a reason. Okay. And they were generally there for a divine reason. They were there to help the people. But now they're finding judges. I think this might be prophetic also. They're finding judges who will now, because they have no other power, right? These people have no other power. The only power because they don't own the presidency, they don't own the White House, or either House of Congress. The only thing they can fall back now are on judges. Could that be prophetic?
Yeah, wow. It's like, okay, well, they actually have a minority in the legislative branch as well. So, I mean, all they can find these lower judges to stop it, but then all he has to do is keep bringing it up to the next judge. Finally, it gets to somewhere, but they're not stopping it. They're just pausing it. And I think they're going to gather up their forces and do whatever they're going to do, but they can't stop what's happening, because once it gets to the Supreme Court, you have, a majority of righteous people in there, whatever. But they're just prolonging the inevitable.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what? I think that this is going to be bigger than we even think, because at every turn, it seems like, because it only makes sense that right now the will of the people, okay, common sense, biblical sense, only one man, one woman, only a male or a female, all the things that we think are common sense things, okay, and they're all just biblical things, right? That these would make sense, right? But has the evil one said, oh, but you don't know, I've got a card up my sleeve, and that card up my sleeve is a judge, and I looked at the number of federal judges that there are, and who appointed them, and they're all appointed by presidents, confirmed by the Congress. Okay, the majority of them, and it's not a big majority, but it's a small majority, are Democrats who put these judges in, and they're in for lifetime appointments. The only way they can actually be taken off to be judges is to be impeached. That's the only way they can be. They can't be taken off because they're making bad rulings, which means that they could do this. I don't know how long they could do it. Could that be their?
This is the Democrats again wasting the people's money, because they're just prolonging the inevitable. Let's tie it up in court and waste money. But you know what? So here's something else with that, because we always see, oh, this is coming up to the judge, but then 6 months later, there's a ruling, and then this. I don't think that's going to happen now. I think that these things are going to be pushed through, because the Department of Justice is the one who sticks up for is on the side of the president. That's the one who defends his orders, Pam Bondi, right? And before, we just saw this slow gear of bureaucracy turning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's going to happen now. I think things are going much faster. So, anyways,
Yeah.
let me get onto the last stream because it really ties all this together.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep. So we actually got less than 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah, we're running over.
So
here.
the last one was the 27th of May, 2024.
Yeah.
I knew somebody was bringing forth evidence that they were building. They were blueprints. They were laying blueprints out on a table. They were and they were being honest and truthful. They were bringing forth the evidence on things that were being built incorrectly. They were bad people. They were keeping this, but the government was keeping this person held hostage, like before, but the evidence came out anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was a man, sometimes it was a woman, and but so different people. But basically, what was happening was they were ready to call Chuck Schumer's snitch line, right, and lay out the blueprints of what was happening. But the government still put them in the deepest, darkest basement. But it still came out anyways. I remember seeing these people laying out blueprints, and they're talking to the government, like FBI or Department of Justice, and they're showing them on the blueprints like this is this, and this is bad, and it's all bad. Like building a building incorrectly on purpose to cause it to fall on something.
Yeah.
So I've heard that lately from other prophets about the blueprints being laid out, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. But anyways, and I think this is what's happening,
Yeah. I think you're right. We're and as it pertains to let's just we'll kind of point this in the USAID type thought, is that it started out as a great thing. I mean, it really did. It started out as something that could actually work out really well, and yet it was co-opted, and it's going the wrong direction. And I know there was a guy who came on, he's a whistleblower, and he said, hey, look, guys, I brought this up. I brought this up to the leadership, and they vilified me. They vilified me and said that you just be quiet, okay? Because we know what this thing is doing right now. And I think that the story is just beginning. It's just beginning to unfold, and we're going to see something in the next couple of weeks that I believe is going to open up a wasp's nest. So get ready, folks. This is going to be crazy, don't you think?
Let me just put it as somebody who hears from God, listens to what he says, speaks what he says. You have to look from 10,000 feet down. This is just one mountain. We have to look at it because I had dreams where I'm over the United States and I see this and I see this and I see this, and there's chains on here and this and that. This is just the beginning of the pile, but I think the blueprints lays out everything that's been happening. Not you know what I mean? Like you're gonna see a whole structure that was built on one foundation, one rock in the foundation is USAID. One rock in the foundation is the Treasury. One rock in the foundation. It's truly going to be amazing, and I think in about a year from now we're all going to be celebrating.
Yeah, praise God. Well, I hope and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Aaron, thank you so much once again, brother. We will see you again next week, okay?
All right, buddy.
All right, talk to you later. And folks, thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. This has been illuminating, to say the least, that what God is doing. I mean, God is doing some amazing things, and we're literally living in history right now. So don't think that we're not living in history, folks. We are living in history right now, and don't miss this. So we encourage you, watch the show, pray about what we've been talking about, and then let God guide you on what your part to do in this whole thing is. At the least, pray. We encourage you just to pray about what God wants you to do in this and who you're supposed to pray for. And maybe God will give you wisdom. Maybe God will give you a vision that you could share with us here at This Week in Prophecy. Anyways, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray for This Week in Prophecy. I want to thank you all for being a part of the broadcast today. Once again, if you'd like to write to us, just write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, folks. If not, we will see you again next week for This Week in Prophecy, folks. This has been Pastor Sherman Ray. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.